Jeff Schmidt is a recognized expert, author, and speaker on the topics of information security and infrastructure protection. He worked at Microsoft Corporation in the Windows Production Security Department. He was a CIO, one of the CIOs of the Ohio State University, Chief Information Officer. He was the founder and elected director of the InfraGard National Members Alliance, which was a private sector component of the FBI's InfraGard program. He's an entrepreneur who started several successful ventures in the information security space. He actually worked with the FBI to start the InfraGard program in 1998 and received his MBA from Fisher College of Business at the Ohio State University, and I welcome him.
Thank you very much to the chairman and to the committee members. I appreciate the biographical information. I can now scratch that off of my list here. I have been in the information security space for the last 15 years and focused specifically on identity and authentication related issues for the last 3. I come to you today with the luxury of not having an opinion about internet gambling. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm a security practitioner, and it's my job to give you a candid review of the state of the art with respect to 2 specific technologies and techniques that we've been talking a lot about today, namely identity and age verification, as well as geographic location or IP geolocation. My written submitted testimony contains several pages of excruciating detail on these particular technologies and techniques, and again, a candid explanation of the state of the art. I'm going to skip to the highlights. These technologies are not reliable in their current form today. Technologies that attempt to identify a person's age as well as identify their geographic location will fail on the order of 20%. These numbers come from the vendors of these technologies themselves. They come from independent parties that have researched these particular techniques, and they come from my own research and my company's own research. Again, 20%, I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent for the application that we're talking about today. It is my job to make sure that the committee is fully informed about this reality when considering the policy decisions that are in front of us. The policy decisions are, again, fortunately for me, well above my pay grade. So the best way to demonstrate this is with a couple of very simple demonstrations. On this piece of paper, I've written down my username and my password, as do 70% of all Americans in this country. Mr. Hogan? Now Mr. Hogan is Jeff Schmidt, online, anywhere else. If that were an age-verified credential, Mr. Hogan would now be my age. It really is that simple, and recent data has confirmed that. First of all, ACLU versus Gonzalez, with respect to COPPA, did a lengthy discussion about age verification and identity verification technologies and found them to be unreliable. Also, I would remind the committee that the largest and most quickly growing complaint to the FTC has consistently been around identity fraud and identity theft related issues. It really is, that is the sad state of affairs right now. We will see failure rates. Another way to think about what the failure rates might be is to consider a very simple and very common age verification problem. The problem that we see when credentialing a youth at a bar. According to research done by the University of Wisconsin, the University of Arizona, and the FBI, use of forged, fake, or borrowed IDs for the purchase of cigarettes and alcohol exceeds 20 to 25%. Online age verification is a much harder problem. You're not in person, you're not inspecting a government-issued ID. Therefore, it is safe for us to assume that failure rates will be higher in the online scenario. The second technology that we discuss is IP geolocation. The way that the internet is constructed, it is extremely difficult to determine the geographical location with any sort of precision or reliability. Again, a very simple demonstration. Mr. Chairman, Boston is one of my very, very favorite cities. I was there yesterday. I used this Verizon card to access the internet. I used the same card again this morning to access the internet from my hotel here in the district. And in both cases, I received different answers from all the major IP geolocation providers. One had me in Dallas, Texas. One had me in Reston, Virginia. One had me in Minneapolis. In no case did they agree, or in no case did they actually put me in the accurate locations. Now, I understand that the use of these wireless cards is somewhat of a curveball. However, this is the emerging technology, and this technology is standard equipment in almost every new laptop that is being built today. My other personal research around geolocation technologies have demonstrated failure rates for non-curveball types of applications in the 20 to 30% range as well. So, again, it's critical to understand that you will see very high failure rates, and it is critical to factor that in when making these important policy decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt, and to introduce our next witness, there's been an allusion to the gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I did welcome this witness earlier, but Gregory Hogan Sr. is the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Barberton, Ohio, which is in Representative Betty Sutton's district. He has a bachelor's degree in education from Tennessee Temple University. He's married, he has 4 children, and he's here to talk about the experience of his family and one of his children. And so welcome, Reverend Hogan. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much. Chairman Frank, Ranking Member Backus, my own Congressman, Mr. LaTourette, and members of the House Financial Service Committee. Thank you for inviting me here today. As a parent, we dread a call that often comes to us. That call came to me on December the 9th, 2005. The call on the other end of the line was my son. It was not his cell phone number that showed up on my wife's number, but one we did not recognize. He immediately started crying. He said, "I've done something terribly wrong. I'm in jail for robbing a bank." Time stopped. My wife couldn't even drive across the street, and I do not remember today how we got home from the restaurant that evening. But my son was under arrest for doing something that was inconceivable for him. What could have put my son in a state of mind to do that act? He was president of the sophomore class at Lehigh University. He was second chair cellist in their orchestra. The high school psychologist that worked with him for 4 years called him a straight arrow, and no one that knew Gregory could believe that he had done such an act. How could this young man that appeared twice at Carnegie Hall in New York City think that he could rob a bank? The answer has to do with illegal internet gambling. It all began when a non-student came into his room, walked over to his computer and said, "Hey, look how much money I made on the internet." He keystroked a few things into my son's computer, and up on the screen popped $120,000, and download the program so my son can gamble through his preferred site. And then for 14 months, we began to watch our son's descent into the black hole of addiction to internet gambling, especially poker. It began as a few overdraft charges showed up at our house, and our first conversation was on wasting money and avoiding spending money frivolously. It included a battle with depression, daily notices from the banks about overdrafts, and I had to live at home that I did not like. I had to take out all the computers in our house. I had to lock them up. I had to make sure that my wallet was beside my bedside every night. All my financial papers were in the safe. Whenever Greg was around, I had to secure our family finances, and the TV was always turned to Texas Hold'em. After interviews with a certified gambling therapist, with members of GA, and begging college to provide a counselor for him, we sent Greg back to Lehigh University for a sophomore year. With him, he had taken, without our knowledge, $2,000 in savings bonds from our family safe, and he began to gamble again. Greg's student account at the bank in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania did not allow internet payments, so he found an intermediary site to continue his gambling. I installed Gamblock, an anti-gambling program on his personal computer, and so he began gambling at the Lehigh University Library up to 12 hours a day. I